ではこれからミシガン州の基礎知識第2回経済開発公社概要と重要政策ウェブセミナーを開始いたします。JETROではミシガン州の基礎知識として前回州の概要や歴史に加えてなぜ自動車産業がこのミシガン州に集積してきたかなどを専門家の皆様にお話しいただきました。本日は第2回としてミシガン州政府経済開発公社 MVGC のご協力をいただきまして州や関係機関、最も注目を集めるモビリティ政策について解説をいただきます。本日参加の各位は各地のローカルな地域の経済開発の皆さんと州政府であります州都ランシングがいらっしゃっています MEDC の方々になります。それではここからは英語で進行させていただきます。本セミナーがミシガンにいらっしゃる皆様やご関心の皆様にお役に立てれば幸いです。So I would like to begin the webinar. Thank you very much for joining us today. So we are very grateful to have the top team from the state of Michigan. Thank you very much for taking time. To begin, our Chief Executive Director, Ralph Infurzato, would like to offer his remarks. So Ralph, please.
Konnichiwa minasan. Watashi wa JETRO Chicago no Ralph Infurzato desu. Please allow me to speak in English, but also please allow me to speak to you as a friend today. I hope all of you are healthy and well this November. Thank you very much for participating in this special JETRO State of Michigan webinar for the Japanese business community. In my own simple mind, Michigan has three assets that are superlative throughout the Midwest region of the United States and perhaps in the United States. Michigan is the land of engineers. Everyone, most of the ladies and gentlemen I know in Michigan are all engineers. Mostly mechanical engineers, like electrical engineers, but also many process engineers. You know, in this way, Michigan reminds me of Saitama Prefecture or Aichi Prefecture because there's technical human talent everywhere. And the Michigan engineers, they work very, very hard. So they want to do two things. One is they play a lot of golfing. And the golf courses in Michigan are superlative. And if they're not golfing, the activity they like to do is they like to go fishing, sports fishing. I'm a fisherman, actually. No one knows that until today. But I love fishing. And we always go to Michigan to do our sports fishing. So please visit Michigan. Make friends with the engineers and they'll take you golfing and sports fishing. Now, the state of Michigan has comprehensive leadership to support and assist Japanese companies planning to invest in the state or to provide assistance to the Japanese companies that are already in Michigan. It's unique because having this comprehensive leadership support from the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, supports Japanese companies. The leadership of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and just as importantly, Michigan's local leaders and county governments, such as the Oakland County government, are very critically important for all of us this year and in 2021, 2022, as we come out of the pandemic. Today, we have to learn more about how can Michigan state and local governments effectively support Japanese companies. I therefore request that the speakers today please, Michigan leaders that are with us today, build a relationship with our Japanese company representatives that are listening on today's webinar. Thank you very much. We're very grateful to all of you. Thank you.
So now I'd like to move to the main session. So we are extremely honored to receive a message from Governor Gretchen Whitmer, State of Michigan, for today's webinar. We are grateful for her kind message to the Japanese business community during a difficult time. So let me play her recorded message to us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar focused on the economic development support that Michigan offers that can help the Japanese business community thrive right here in our state. To begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank our partners at the Japanese External Trade Organization, or JETRO, for helping make today possible. The partnership that Michigan and JETRO have grown over many years is incredibly important and has resulted in increased collaboration between Japan and Michigan, which we are glad to be building on that here today. And I'd like to thank all of you as attendees for joining today's conversation and for using this as a unique opportunity to strengthen relationships and cultivate deeper engagement with our regional partners while learning more about our statewide initiatives. We'll also provide information and opportunities to connect with the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, an office we launched earlier this year to increase mobility investment, expand smart infrastructure, enable the mobility workforce, and accelerate electric vehicle adoption across the state. As part of that initiative, we are also pleased to share that we have created a Council on Future Mobility and Electrification, which includes representation from Toyota North America as well. We haven't let a global pandemic stand in the way of opportunities and innovative and strengthen key sectors like our automotive ecosystem across the state. As Michigan and Japan have developed an incredibly meaningful relationship, solidifying our cultural and corporate ties, we bring that same commitment to innovate and to partnership so that we can move forward. This was on display when Japanese businesses stepped up to help Michigan responding to the global pandemic. Your generous contributions have been vitally important in our fight against this unprecedented outbreak, and we are thankful for the continued partnership and support of the Japanese business community during this uncertain time. As we continue moving forward in Michigan and work to recover from this ongoing pandemic, we will continue to invest in our Japanese partnership, foster deeper cultural relationships with our Japanese American community overall, and encourage increased engagement with the partners and initiatives presented during today's webinar to ensure all businesses can grow and thrive here in our state. Thank you all yet again for being here today for this meaningful conversation about the endless opportunities for doing business here in Michigan.
Thank you very much again, Governor. Next, allow me to introduce Drew Coleman, Director, Foreign Direct Investment, MEDC. He's an important person and champion for Japanese companies in the state of Michigan. Importantly, he travels to Japan quite a bit and knows how to communicate with Japan. Thank you for joining us, Drew-san.
Can you hear me?
Yes, so please.
Yes, can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, good afternoon. My name is Drew Coleman. I'm the Director of U.S. and Foreign Direct Investment here at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Today, I'm excited to share with you an introduction of the MEDC and how we support Japanese businesses. Before I begin, I want to thank our friends at JETRO Chicago office. Our many years of partnership have resulted in a great success for many Japanese businesses. Additionally, thank you, Consul General Nakagawa-san and the Consul General's entire team for their continued support. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation is the lead advocate for business development, job awareness, and community development with a focus on growing Michigan's economy and promoting Michigan's reputation as a world-class business location and travel destination. This objective is made possible through partnerships, including those such as Jetro Chicago, as well as our regional economic development partners, some of which you will hear from today. Michigan is the 10th largest state in the country with just over 10 million residents. Among numerous location-specific advantages, Michigan's location positions businesses within 500 miles of one-half of the U.S. and Canadian populations. With 3 border crossings between the U.S. and Canada, additionally, Detroit Metropolitan Airport offers direct flights to Japan. Michigan is well known for our automotive industry dominance, but there are numerous other focus areas in Michigan. From advanced manufacturing, engineering and design, medical devices, Michigan is a leader in many different industries. Additionally, due to our location, Michigan is a key state for logistics and agriculture. Michigan's strengths are highlighted by our engineering talent, automotive R&D, concentration of future mobility companies, and the numerous other assets located here. Michigan is also very strong in foreign direct investment, with nearly 1,500 foreign companies choosing Michigan, totaling $11.3 billion in investment since 2015. Japanese businesses are in the top 10 for investment into Michigan. Michigan receives foreign direct investment from numerous industries, but our top 5 industries are listed here. As mentioned, Michigan and Japan have a long tradition of partnership. This has resulted in over 500 Japanese companies choosing to locate here. The strength of the Japanese Business Society of Detroit has continued to grow here in Michigan, and the Japan Center for Michigan Universities was established in Shiga Prefecture, Michigan's sister prefecture, over 30 years ago. Additionally, there are 2 Japan schools in Michigan and numerous other cultural assets located throughout the state. During the COVID-19 recovery, Japanese businesses were key in supporting Michigan's response. Based out of Southfield, Michigan, Denso Manufacturing donated nearly 2,000 N95 masks, 2,000 surgical masks, and more than 1,000 nitrile gloves to hospitals in Michigan and in North Carolina, helping provide our frontline and essential workers the protection they need in the face of this pandemic. Denso has also begun manufacturing personal protective equipment, including face shields, while collaborating with other OEM partners to manufacture these materials. At the Nissan Technical Center North America R&D in Farmington Hills, the company also helped to assemble face shields and donated them to our public health professionals treating COVID-19 patients every day. In Detroit, Honda delivered 10 specially outfitted Odyssey minivans to the city to help transport healthcare workers as well as potential COVID-19 patients. These vehicles feature plastic barriers to protect against the potential spread of the virus and were manufactured in less than 2 weeks as a rapid response to the outbreak in the city. And finally, Michigan has been able to protect our essential workers and frontline public health workers thanks to the generous contribution of the Japanese Business Society of Detroit and President Shinichi Yasui of Toyota Motors North America, donating $25,000 to COVID-19 response efforts in Michigan. These generous contributions have been vitally important in our fight against this unprecedented outbreak, and we are very thankful for the continued partnership and support of the Japanese business community during this uncertain time. As you can see, Michigan and the MEDC have responded to support businesses across the state as we all deal with COVID-19. For a full list of areas of support, please visit michiganbusiness.org/COVID-19 response. Both at the MEDC and through our numerous economic development partners statewide, Michigan can support your business to be successful and grow. Michigan has support for startup companies, support for companies needing funding, business-to-business connections, help to increase sales, support for new offices or manufacturing locations, support for hiring and training talent, and other areas. If your company needs assistance, please reach out to me directly, and I will connect you personally to someone who can assist you. Thank you. Thank you for your partnership, for your investment in Michigan, and for your continued friendship. If you need assistance in Japanese, please contact my colleague, Alex Kaneko. He is our business development consultant covering the Japan market.
Thank you, Drew-san. So thank you very much for your presentation. It's really good to know you can help Japanese companies in Michigan. Now, so as he mentions, Michigan is wide and have local partners. So MVGC partners such as regional economic development organizations. So today, we have 4 organizations participating. I would like them to explain their organization and region. So please note 2 minutes for each, and I will control each presentation. So first, I'd like to introduce Ms. Gabarowski from Ann Arbor Spark.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcia Gabarowski. I'm the Director of Business Development with Ann Arbor Spark. Next slide. Welcome to the Ann Arbor region. The Ann Arbor region supports a $23.5 billion local economy. And this includes innovation-driven industry sectors in automotive and mobility, life sciences and healthcare, technology, data, and cybersecurity. Ann Arbor Spark supports a list of world-class businesses in our region, and we are most proud to support the Japanese investment that has chosen the Ann Arbor region to locate, including the Toyota Technical Center with over 1,500 employees. FT Techno Proving Grounds, a subsidiary of Aisin, Toyota Gosei, and Asahi Kasei. Our small communities and our charming downtowns welcome citizens and employees with unique restaurants, culture, and fine arts. The Ann Arbor region has it all. Next slide. Mostly in partnership and with the location of the University of Michigan and Eastern Michigan University, located both in Washtenaw County, the Ann Arbor region continues to be a place where innovative people and businesses thrive. Annually, the Ann Arbor area continues to rank top 10 in items such as best cities to live in America, the greatest small college towns, greatest cities, but known to be innovative, and we recognize and Spark works to continue to make the Ann Arbor region a living lab of mobility and entrepreneurship. Next slide. Again, this is not done without our deep relationship and the education and research that comes out of the University of Michigan, as well as Eastern Michigan University. And the Ann Arbor region continues to be a vibrant tech ecosystem surrounded by these universities, which Spark continues to work and bring that technology and talent to our businesses. Next slide. A little bit about Ann Arbor Spark. We are a regional economic development organization. We focus on providing services and support to businesses in Washtenaw and Livingston counties. Our mission is to advance the economy of our region by establishing the area as a desired place for business to expand and locate in. A little bit more about the business development team, which I am a part of. We work to provide various services to our businesses on a one-on-one fashion, including market entry strategy, data that would be needed for location decisions. We are able to manage projects. We are able to work alongside companies to help them get started or grow in the region. We're able to make key introductions both to businesses in the region, statewide or industry-wide connections to help a business continue to grow or locate in our region. And then another example is for talent services and to use our network and foster unique ways to provide talent pipeline into businesses that are growing. Next slide. Ann Arbor Spark has a very deep bench on our business development team. We have people focused solely on research and innovation. We have someone focused on the American Center for Mobility with questions on the growth of that development. Each county has a focus on, for business development, myself in Livingston County, people in Washtenaw County, as well as sector strategy and other strategic initiatives. And we are so grateful that we have the ability to highlight our region, and our contact information is available. And we really look forward to working with any one of you interested in learning more about the Ann Arbor region. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you, Masha-san. So next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Robert Corder from Battle Creek Unlimited. So Rob-san.
いいですか？
はい、お願いします。Thank you,
はい。
please.
はい。皆さん、こんにちは。Battle Creek Unlimited のロバートです。よろしくお願いします。So, I work for Battle Creek Unlimited, which is the economic development organization for Battle Creek, Michigan. Next slide, please. Thank you. Our mission is to create jobs and attract investment to the city of Battle Creek. Battle Creek is famously known as the cereal city. This is where the cereal industry was started in the United States. Both Kellogg and Post were started here, and Kellogg is still based here in Battle Creek. But it is more accurate today to call Battle Creek Denso Town. We are home to 20 Japanese companies, mostly clustered in our Fort Custer Industrial Park. This is one of the largest concentrations of Japanese manufacturing in the United States. Battle Creek Unlimited has been traveling to Japan to develop relationships with Japanese companies since 1974. Typically, we travel to Japan at least once a year, sometimes as many as 3 times. In 1975, TSK, now known as Hilex, established the first Japanese sales office in Battle Creek. Next slide, please. As I said, today we have more than 20 Japanese companies doing business here in Battle Creek. The largest is Denso. Denso is now the city's largest employer. And there you can see the list of all the companies, mostly in advanced automotive manufacturing. We recently added a new company, Sankey North America. They relocated from Jackson, Michigan. Next slide, please. So we have a strong program to support Japanese companies. As I said, we've been going to Japan to develop relationships since the 1970s. We have a Japanese consultant, Ken Masumoto, previously with the state of Michigan. He has deep experience, as do I. I previously spent almost 10 years with Jetro in Chicago. We have annual meetings with all of our Japanese companies. We talk with them. We know all of them by name. We speak with all of their senior leadership. We also visit Japan every year to brief the Japanese headquarters offices on what's going on here in Battle Creek, to make sure that we are aware of any issues they have and to discuss how we can help them grow their businesses in Battle Creek. In addition, people from Battle Creek Unlimited serve on various boards and committees in Japan, or excuse me, in Battle Creek to help Japanese companies, including the International Relations Committee. We also work closely with our sister city and our sister state. In the picture there, you can see Michigan's former governor, Rick Snyder, with our president and CEO, Joe Soborowski, and Shiga Governor Mikazuki. Next slide, please. So that's our contact information there. As I said, we have a lot of Japanese companies. We're always looking for more. We have plenty of resources, plenty of land, and a great workforce. So if you're looking for a place to come do business, we invite you to take a look at Battle Creek. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob-san. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Alan Weber from Detroit Regional Partnership. So, Alan-san.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, please.
Next slide, please. So my name is Alan Weber, and I am the Vice President of Global Investment and Trade at the Detroit Regional Partnership. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with each of you today and introduce you to the partnership and the services we provide to both domestic and international companies that are looking at the region as a future place to do business. This opportunity to briefly speak with you is also a great honor to me due to my passion for Japan and its culture. I've had the opportunity to travel to Japan nearly 40 times in recent years, not just for business, but for pleasure and educational opportunities. Japan continues to be by far one of the most important countries to the region for employment, investment, and the diversity of culture to our community. So the Detroit Regional Partnership was created nearly 2 years ago to focus on marketing the Detroit region to the world. Our goal is to market our community to attract jobs and investments, like many of the organizations here today, to the 11 counties and the city of Detroit. The partnership is laser focused on supporting companies from around the globe to tap into our local ecosystem. As a single point of contact, we've assisted numerous Japanese companies into the region. Our services to global companies consist of market research, site location assistance, incentive support, and maybe the most important, from my perspective, is to provide support to Japanese nationals who are looking to relocate into the region. Next slide, please. The region is honored to be home to hundreds of Japanese companies employing tens of thousands of Michiganders. Over the course of many years, the team at the partnership, as well as our positions in previous organizations, have been able to engage and assist several companies like Hino Motors and their new location in Novi, Oritex and their local expansion, and the first Michigan location for Univamps in Farmington Hills, which many of us here on the call today has had the opportunity to visit in recent years. We've had the pleasure of engaging with each of these companies to support both their business operations as well as their personal and family needs as they've entered our market. Next slide, please. The partnership and its partners, the 11 counties in the city of Detroit, have decades of experience with the local Japanese community. Our commitment is to provide services to companies exploring the region, assisting individual families with their global transition, and nurturing the Japanese tradition in our community. As you can see, the pictures on the left-hand side there, there's some great opportunities that have existed here in the region between both educational, K through 12, as well as new planned mixed-use developments in the region for the Japanese culture. You know, the partnership and our partners continue to stand ready to build this relationship between Japan and the Detroit region. And we certainly appreciate all the work all of you have done on the call to support our local economy. Next slide. So thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to engaging with all of you in the near future on future expansion opportunities. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan-san. At last, so I'd like to introduce Mr. Brent Case from the Right Place. So Brent-san, yes, please.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, please.
Great. Konnichiwa and arigato. On behalf of Birgit Close, our CEO at the Right Place for the last 33 years, we appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this JETRO-led organizational production for Japanese companies that are considering investment in the United States and specifically Michigan. Next slide, please. Our role is very similar to the other EDOs that you've heard from before me. The Right Place is a private nonprofit working closely with businesses and our partners at the local and state government to drive economic prosperity for our region. We at the Right Place lead economic development activities for 6 counties in West Michigan, and we partner closely with 7 other counties that have their own economic development organizations in place. On November 6th of 2020, just earlier this month, Grand Rapids was recognized by Smartest Dollar as the #1 city with the highest concentration of manufacturing jobs in the entire United States. So it makes sense that we are focused on growing advanced manufacturing in our region, along with health and life sciences and medical devices, information technology, and food and beverage manufacturing. Next slide, please. So this might be a little difficult to see, and I apologize for that. But to summarize, these 20 Japanese-owned companies listed on the screen are located throughout the greater Grand Rapids region and employ over 2,500 people. So we're very grateful for the Japanese investment in our region. Some recognizable companies and parent companies on this list include Hitachi, Kawasaki, Mitsubishi, and Nippon, to name a few. The Right Place has been involved in assisting many of these companies locate in our region, and many of you on the call may remember our former colleague and good friend Ray DeWinkle, who used to work at the Right Place and was actively involved in Japan and Japanese companies for many years. And we're glad that he now works with Consumers Energy and works with us as well. Next slide. We want you to think of the Right Place as your single point of contact as you consider locating operations in West Michigan. We can assist with all of these services at no cost to you or your company. We will gladly sign a non-disclosure agreement, and we recognize that confidentiality is paramount. In addition to helping you identify sites, we can also gather other key information that you need to make an informed business decision with the help of our business intelligence team here at the Right Place. Next slide, please. Thank you again to the team at Jetro for arranging this opportunity for me to share this brief introduction of West Michigan. Please contact me for more details, and I'll be happy to assist you as you explore how Greater Grand Rapids could be home for your next U.S. expansion. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett-san. So thank you very much for all your presentations. So I will share everyone's regional economic developers contacts information among the audience members. So if you'd like to know more about their regions, please contact them directly or contact Jetro, as we are happy to introduce them to you. So now I'd like to move to the final session. So we are very fortunate to have a special person today. I'd like to introduce Mr. Trevor Paul, Chief Mobility Officer, Mvgc, Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. In July 2020, Governor Gretchen Whitmer officially announced the formation of the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, naming Mr. Trevor Paul as the state's Chief Mobility Officer. OFME is a newly established office and will work across the state with governmental bodies, academia, and the private sectors to enhance Michigan's mobility capabilities. So he has been working for Mvgc and leading mobility policies for a long time. So thank you very much again for joining us today, Mr. Paul.
Thank you very much. It is great to be here. Hello, everybody. I think I had some slides that we're going to get put up. Are you able to share those? Thank you very much. Up, just a window. Okay, can you see them?
Yes, we can see
All
them.
right.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Just worried there for a second. All right, let's get after it. So let's begin in the future, to the year 2030. The next 10 years are going to be a landmark decade for mobility. Electric vehicles are expected to pass internal combustion engine vehicle sales by 2030. Software will represent more than 50% of the value of a vehicle by 2030. You may still drive your car in 2030, but there's a good chance it'll drive on the highway by itself or park itself. By 2030, Tesla is expecting to produce 20 million vehicles a year, and Uber is expected to go 100% electric vehicle ride sharing. So it's going to be a big decade. And you know what? Our governor and her administration and her team believe that the future is going to belong to the state that prepares for it best. And so that's why we created this dedicated resource called the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification to ensure that Michigan leads the world in 2030 and beyond. Next slide, please.
Please control your slide.
Oh, sorry about that. It's been a long day. All right. So our vision here in the state of Michigan for mobility is simply this: a stronger state economy can be achieved through safer, more equitable, and environmentally sound transportation for all Michigan residents. Are you seeing my schedule right now by chance? Is that popping up on the screen? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. For some reason, it's showing that never mind. So that's our vision, and baked within that vision, there's a couple of guiding principles that I think are important to share. The first is that a systems level approach is what's going to create economic development advantages. there's 4 core elements of this mobility era: autonomous, connected, shared, and electric. And they're all systematically linked. So a state that can intentionally and consistently integrate all of these elements into its existing systems for the movement of people and goods, that's a state that's going to be a better partner to Japan, to the private sector, and a state that's going to have more wins, create more innovation. The second guiding principle is that collaboration between the public and private sectors are more critical than ever. So a state that can leverage public sector investment, government investment, to spark private investment, that's a state that's going to grow deeper partnerships. And then finally, we believe that smart infrastructure and the grid are cutting edge new economic development tools. They're not just used to get us from point A to point B or to turn the lights on. These are platforms to create new business models, job creation, and new reasons to partner. And the Japanese have done such an amazing job of making sure that they're always leveraging smart infrastructure in the grid for safety reasons, but also to simply create a place that's just wonderful to get around. So those are our guiding principles. I've shared with you the vision. Now I want to touch on a bit of the objectives. The first is grow the mobility industry right here in Michigan. That means continuing to dedicate resources to generate new investment and job creation that advances our ecosystem. The second is engage more mobility startups. These young companies are so incredibly important to our ecosystem. The third is expand Michigan's smart infrastructure. So over the last decade, over 10,000 Michigan residents have lost their lives in traffic accidents. And 95% of that is due to human error. So the sooner that we can get smart infrastructure on the road, the more lives are going to be saved. Fourth, electric vehicle adoption. So assist in the transition from internal combustion vehicles to electric vehicles. That means growing our industry here, growing our battery supply chain here, but that also means reducing range anxiety, looking to expand our charging infrastructure, and Japan has done an amazing job of that. Also, further enable Michigan's mobility workforce. Over the next couple of years, by 2045, the mobility industry is expecting to need 45,000 new people with computer engineering skills. Michigan's going to need about 12,000 of those to retain its pole position. So it's incredibly important that we create skilling programs that allow folks to transition into this new industry and create new opportunities. And then finally, we want to bolster our mobility manufacturing core. So, continue to be a place that anywhere in the world can rely on for, reliable manufacturing expertise, and frankly, low cost, competitive options, but also mark a path toward evolution. And I think that makes us prime for additional partnership beyond what we already have with Asia and specifically Japan and our automotive community. So what you're looking at right now is our approach, which is an integrated approach that really pulls 2 levers. Responsive policy, so creating more favorable regulatory environments for autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles, but then also creating dynamic programming, grants, significant firsts. Like, for instance, we just announced the world's first self-driving vehicle corridor from Detroit to Ann Arbor. That's a 40-mile stretch that will be dedicated to this new technology and integrate into our existing transportation network. And really, it all fits together. So if we're able to, create these firsts, it'll attract strong talent. Our companies will grow with strong talent. Our innovation pipelines, as emerging companies in our state continue to expand, our traditional companies will benefit from that. New technologies will be pushed out on the road, and that will cause our infrastructure to need to continue to be upgraded. And then with all this new technology, you need targeted training. And all of this ends up reinforcing the advantage of a region and helps us, again, be a better partner to you. So really quickly, I mentioned the last decade being really sort of defined by 4 foundational technologies: electric, autonomous, shared. I said electric twice, and connected. And what we're seeing is it's shifting profit pools and creating new winners and losers. We're seeing traditional automakers begin to produce in-house parts again, like e-axles, to claim a greater share of value. New automakers are entering into the scene. Tier 1s are actually moving back into the supply chain becoming tier 2, selling batteries. And tier 2s that used to sell to tier 1 automotive suppliers are now selling directly to Toyota, Honda, Ford, and others. And then you have non-auto players that used to specialize in video game graphics that are now major automotive suppliers. And we're seeing that profit pool continue to change as we enter into this decade and the next decade. What does this mean? Well, it means that industries are converging. It means that the future of mobility will impact more than just auto. I mean, autonomous technology should reduce logistics costs by 47% by 2030. Commercial ground and aerial drones could represent up to 80% of consumer goods delivery by 2026. And a single global shipment can involve 30 organizations and over 200 interactions across various infrastructure assets. So really, I mean, the future of mobility, I mean, it's supposed to be $3.3 trillion US by 2030, but only a portion of that will be self-driving cars. So it's important here in Michigan that we leverage our automotive advantage and we work with Japan, we work with Japanese companies to drive these other modes of transportation forward, like shipping, like last mile delivery. And so over the last decade, because of this disruption, actually, we've experienced a consistent drumbeat of new investment from companies that need to be close to customers and need reliable manufacturing expertise. In fact, over the last decade, we've seen over 41 billion in US dollars in new OEM and supplier investment and 90,000 new jobs. And that's been with traditional automakers, traditional suppliers, but also new mobility companies. And we're hoping to continue this momentum going forward. And you can see where we rank versus other US states. Ohio is the closest, but Michigan is the clear leader. And just over the last 2 years, we've seen very significant investment from companies like Waymo that actually are building the world's first factory 100% dedicated to autonomous vehicles. General Motors made a $3 billion investment to retool production of electric pickups. FCA made a $2.1 billion investment to introduce the new Durango and the new Grand Cherokee. Ford, $700 million to produce the new electric F-150 and the new Raptor. And because of these investments by our own Michigan companies that have been here for over a century, companies from around the world want to locate here, like Akasol. They could have went anywhere in North America, but they chose Michigan for a 400-person battery tech center, first location in North America. And we're seeing more stories like that. Other wins we've seen just in this past year, I mentioned the self-driving vehicle corridor. And that's in partnership with our state Department of Transportation and a new company called Cavenue, which is backed by Alphabet, Google's parent company. We're really excited about that, and we hope that there can be a lot of learnings that come from that can be shared around the world. I mentioned Ford's new electric vehicle center. We're also rolling out new DC fast chargers to, again, reduce the range anxiety of electric vehicles around the state. Obviously, Detroit is a very big city, but there are parts of northern Michigan and West Michigan that you know, in order to have the incentive to buy an electric vehicle, you need to first lay the tracks, first have the charging infrastructure. Our government's committed to that. Our local utilities, DTE and Consumers Energy, have partnered with other service providers in other states to begin a Midwest charging network, which is really exciting. So you could drive from Michigan to Kansas or even to Texas with a very consistent charging experience and very consistent charging locations. Other things, and I mentioned the future is multimodal. We're building a digital infrastructure in the sky. We believe the future will involve commercial drones, whether it's delivering health supplies, medical supplies, or critical manufacturing parts. You know, a part the size of a quarter can cost hundreds of thousands of US dollars for brakes. And drones are the best way oftentimes to get that part where it needs to be fast. But how do drones know as they fly over different cities what laws to abide by? We're trying to understand that and create software platforms right here in Michigan to help drones operate in real time. We've also rolled out autonomous shuttles for Detroit hospitals to help senior citizens get to and from doctor's appointments. When the COVID-19 crisis broke out, we worked on virus mitigation technologies, working with autonomous shuttle companies to install UV light technology to disinfect air and surfaces. We also rolled out a fleet of autonomous cleaning robots for our airports. And actually, just last month, we rolled out the first automated parking garage in the US in partnership with Ford, Bosch, and Bedrock, a local Detroit company, where you can literally get out of your car and the car will park itself. So the future is really bright. And the way that we're looking at this is simple. In the early part of the 20th century, Michigan was able to share with the world pretty foundational breakthroughs in automotive transportation. Did you know that the lanes in the road actually started in Michigan? There was a milk truck that was dripping milk, and someone from the local road commission saw this and said, wow, that's a really good idea to put lanes in the road. We were also the first place to have the 3-color traffic light, the first highway in a city, and even the first mile of paved road. And we feel like, much like that era, we're in an era where a lot's going to change in mobility. And we have an opportunity to be rolling out the same sort of global first. But the truth is, we can't do that without partners like you. So, you know, I'm so happy to be proud, or to be part of this event, and hope that it isn't just us presenting to you, but it's the beginning of a dialogue on how we can work together. So thank you again. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. It's just been one of those days. I know we've all experienced it since the crisis began. So I'm going to turn it back over to the Jetro team.
Thank you very much, Trevor-san, for your comprehensive presentation. So since Mr. Paul has to leave early, so I'd like to take some questions from the floor about his initiative first. So please write your question in the control panel, please. So can I ask Trevor-san? I got one question. So let's say in Japan, some people consider San Francisco to be a kind of center of innovation.
Yes.
So can you highlight the characteristics of Michigan as the center of mobility innovation comparing to San Francisco coast side?
Yeah, sure. So San Francisco is. San Francisco has a software expertise that is second to none in the world. And I think the way to access the North American market should go through San Francisco on the software side. But if you really want to bring an idea to market, take something from your mind and bring it to market in transportation, you got to go through Detroit. You got to go through Michigan. And you know what? There are so many different efforts right now by our government leaders and also industry to partner with California, to partner with the companies out there and roll these products out together. So I think, yeah, San Francisco is absolutely a place to do business, but in transportation, I mean, Michigan's the place you ultimately got to end up, because this is where the engineers are, this is where the buyers are, and this is where the testing and the proving sites are in all weather conditions. So that's my take on it.
Thank you. Yes, I like that slide showing the auto investment by state. It's showing powerful Michigan's characteristic, I thought. So yeah, thank you for explaining that. Yes. So next question is, now we know the President-elect Biden. So it seems he seems to accelerate EV. So can you share your thoughts on this? Does this affect Michigan mobility policy? So could you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. We're actively in talks with the transition team and with those at a federal and national level to help them achieve their priorities very early on in the new administration. You know, I think what we've saw over the last course of the summer, but really most of this year, is that climate change is real. And one thing that I'm really excited about, actually, is our governor recently signed an executive order that puts forward a commitment to be carbon neutral, for the state to be carbon neutral by 2050. Other states like California have done things similar. And so by setting these audacious goals and having an administration that takes these goals seriously to combat climate change, I'm really bullish on the fact that you know, we can, number one, get the charging infrastructure that we need in place for fleet owners, small and mid-sized fleet owners, because why switch to electric if the infrastructure doesn't support it? So the infrastructure has to come first. But then we also need to look at the business models, right? For instance, an electric school bus is very expensive. It's more expensive than a diesel-powered school bus. But if you can somehow use the school bus as an energy storage device, which you can do with a battery, let's say that there's a crisis, maybe things get very cold in Michigan, or in other places there's a hurricane or a tornado, and the grid goes down. Well, you can drive that school bus over to a nursing home that needs power, and that school bus can power that nursing home. And by doing that, and doing that on a more regular basis, it doesn't need to happen during a crisis, you all of a sudden find other ways to make back the money you paid transitioning over to that electric school bus. And so we're looking at all these different business models, and I think the federal government will allow us to actually deploy these, and if they work, accelerate them fast.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So next questions, somehow related to this slide, but some other slides elaborating some initiatives working with large auto companies. So the question is, so could you elaborate a little bit more about some initiatives working with US OEMs, or of course Japanese OEMs? So kind of initiatives with working with OEMs.
Yeah. Well, there's one in particular that I'm proud of. And actually, my wife used to work at Honda. She's not at Amazon, but she used to work at Honda. And during the early days of the crisis, there was a Honda Odyssey minivan that was being used to transport COVID patients. And we saw that in Detroit and had contacted Honda's team down in Ohio and in Washington, D.C. and said, hey, can we get some of those? We need to transport COVID patients. And Honda was so quick to react. I mean, the vehicles themselves were in Asia, so they had to retrofit existing North American vehicles very fast. And they were able to do that. And they were able to send the city of Detroit these vehicles, and ultimately they're still being used. While that isn't like a high-tech solution, in some ways it isn't, but the point is it was usable, it was important, and it's helping us combat the crisis, and that's what matters.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
So yes, that's all right now from the questions from the floor. So thank you again, Trevor-san. So I know you're very busy, but thank you very much again for taking your time today for us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to take the question to Mvgc and other regional economic partners. So I'd like to bring back. So could you switch on the cameras? Yes, and all local economic developers. Thank you. So I got the questions regarding the local economic developers' presentations. So some slides explain their industrial structures or characteristics, but he would like to know more about your region's kind of industrial characteristics or industrial structures. So maybe with some good example as a company's name. So can I start from another spark, Ms. Gebowski-san, to talk about this theme? Thank you.
If I'm understanding correctly, you would like to know the names of some of the companies that make up the industrial sector in our regions?
Yes, I want you to explain more about your region's business structure or industry structure with some companies' names.
Sure. The Ann Arbor region is a very diverse as far as industry sectors. The University of Michigan's location in Ann Arbor supports a very strong tech hub. Downtown Ann Arbor has more than 80 small technology and software-based companies, including Duo Security, LlamaSoft, at one point Ford Labs, in downtown Ann Arbor and throughout the greater city of Ann Arbor. Throughout Washtenaw County and into Livingston County, we see a lot of our industrial sector represented by Tier 1 and Tier 2 automotive suppliers. And we do have other technical centers. So Toyota Technical Center is located in Washtenaw County. We also have, what is the other one? Not a Japanese company, but in Livingston County, we also have Kasei. We have Toyota Kasei North America, a subsidiary located in Livingston County, as well as Ison's Proving Grounds in Fowlerville. So we do have a large presence of those Tier 1 and Tier 2 automotive suppliers. Livingston County is home to a number of other foreign direct investments, including Thai Summit. We have ZF. And many other smaller local suppliers, but we are primarily focused on the automotive supply chain.
Thank you very much. So can I ask the same question to Rob-san?
Right. So most of the Japanese companies that are here in Battle Creek are in advanced automotive manufacturing. If you look at our slides, we've got 5 sectors that we're really focused on. Food and beverage is one, aviation and defense is another, automotive, logistics, and energy storage. In the energy storage space, Toda Kogyo has a facility here where they make cathode materials for lithium-ion batteries. They entered into a joint venture with BASF, so it's now BASF Toda America. But for the most part, you know, you've got the food and beverage sector in Battle Creek, Post and Kellogg and some other food companies, and then you've got the automotive and manufacturing space.
Thank you. So question is not asking only about the Japanese companies. So yeah, Robson, do you have any comments other than Japanese business community? Do you have any?
That's really the focus and the concentration in Battle Creek. You've got food and beverage, and you've got the manufacturing space, and most of that is in automotive. So that was really a specific shift that Battle Creek undertook back in the 1970s to diversify the local economy. And they went to Japan specifically to attract those kinds of companies. And they've been very successful. So, you know, that was on purpose.
Oh, it's really good to know. Yeah. Thank you. So can I ask the same question to Alan-san? Well, Detroit also, yeah, a variety of industries, but yeah, could you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so, you know, when the partnership was actually developed, we went through a comprehensive study to really understand what types of industries existed here within the region. So, you know, as Marston spoke about, you know, there's a huge tech hub in the Ann Arbor region. And, you know, obviously we're known in the region as a mobility and automotive cluster, but we go so far beyond that due to the magnitude of what we focus on here in the region. So, you know, we cover roughly half the population for the state of Michigan within this region. So everything from smart manufacturing, so anything non-automotive related. So we have really seen an increase in textile and again, non-textile automotive. Corporate services, so call centers that exist here around Bedrock and automotive insurance companies. We've also seen a significant increase in financial services and fintech. Look at the area, but an area that we've seen grow more than anything is really around logistics. So we actually have the home to one of the largest cold storage facilities in North America, Lineage Logistics. So, you know, we really have a very diversified economy here in southeastern Michigan, although in fact we are predominantly known as an automotive and mobility sector. So again, you know, we are home to the global headquarters for FCA and General Motors and Ford, and but what comes along with that is all the tier 1s and tier 2s have a significant presence here in order for them to be successful. And you know, a significant majority of that is international based. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Rena, thank you very much. So, Drew-san, could you add your comments regarding these questions of business structure or business characteristics of these regions or for Michigan area?
Yeah, I will start with the Grand Rapids region, which Brentson covers. One area that's also important to highlight in that region, they of course have manufacturing like many other regions in the state, but medical research and development, so medical devices are very strong in that region. And we've seen global companies move there, but also domestic companies headquartered like Stryker and others that are there in that region. Other companies, large logistics and food companies. So we think of Gordon Food Services, Spartan Nash, and other large grocery chains that are headquartered here in Michigan. One thing I would highlight about the entire state of Michigan is the diversity that you find. So in the Upper Peninsula, a lot of hardwoods are grown, a lot of agriculture in the northern parts and the southern parts of the state, and that logistics and supply chain that exists amongst all those regions. I think that all of our partners that are here today and the numerous other partners that we work with regularly work together collaboratively to support each other and the companies that are in those regions, because we look at it from a supply chain perspective. So we have OEM manufacturing facilities here in Michigan, and the number of parts that go into that facility, the technology and the research, all of those things come together, and it takes all of our partners to drive towards that final product. So we have worked collaboratively across the state over a number of years to create those strategic partnerships. And I think that in Michigan, we make things. So if your company is a company that makes things or designs and comes up with new things, Michigan is a perfect location for your company.
Thank you very much. So next question is more, how can I say, organizational questions or basic questions. So what is MVGC? So is this a private public organization or rather just a public organizations? So how about the regional economic development? It's kind of a private companies funding your organization. So could you make some comments on this question? So first, maybe Drew-san.
Yeah, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation is a public-private corporate partnership. We are enacted by the state, so we receive state dollars to utilize to support businesses and communities, but we also have numerous corporate partners as well. So we are a bit of a government and corporate entity.
So Marcia, how about the regional economic development organization, the similar structure?
So Ann Arbor Spark, as a regional economic development organization, we are a not-for-profit organization, and we are a public-private partnership, much like the MEDC, but we are just a nonprofit organization. And so we have public sector contributions as well as our private sector contributions that make up our leadership and our board.
Thank you. So Robson, I think the similar, but could you make some comments?
Yeah, it's the same. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We were established in the 1970s when they also established the Fort Custer Industrial Park, which is where most of the Japanese companies are. And we serve as the economic development organization for the city of Battle Creek under a contract with the city government itself. But we are a separate private nonprofit organization.
Thank you. So Anna-san, I think DLPs are relatively new organizations. So could you make some comments on the structure?
Yeah, so the DRP is similar in nature to the MEDC and the other organizations. We do receive funding from our 11 county partners and the city of Detroit, and Ann Arbor Spark is one of those key partners in our organization. But the majority of our funding actually comes from the corporations that exist within our borders. So, DTE, so the utility companies, General Motors, American Axle, a lot of those companies see the value in the organization and the work that we perform. So they're obviously key partners in our pursuit. The Detroit Regional Partnership was really developed 2 years ago due to the fact that we were one of the only large metropolitan areas in Michigan that didn't actually have a comprehensive organization to market and attract companies here. Again, there are great organizations that we work with within our borders, but we wanted to make sure that we were marketing the region from a larger perspective, and that's how we kind of came about.
Thank you very much. So now, yeah, some questions are coming still, but I think now is the time to close today's webinar. So thank you. I'd like to thank everyone joined this event today. So Drew-san, Marcia-san, Robert-san, Alan-san, again. So again, in a survey, I'm asking if the audience would like to have a meeting with you. There's a kind of click survey. So thank you very much. では、ここから日本語で失礼します。本日は参加をいただきましてありがとうございました。第2回シリーズでお送りしましたミシガン州の基礎知識です。最後の調査、サーベイ、アンケートにご協力ください。その際にはですね、もし今回のスピーカーとの面談を希望される場合には、チェックいただく欄がありますので、ぜひそちらへの回答もお願いします。改めて本日はセミナーにご参加をいただきましてありがとうございました。どうぞ引き続きよろしくお願いいたします。それでは失礼いたします。So thank you very much. Bye.